Hey there team, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to my overview of Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. So for those not across it, I do overviews on this channel. I have a look at the first 2 hours of a game because it's the Steam refund window. Steam says that you can make up your mind about whether you want to keep a game or not in that time, and generally speaking, I would agree. And say that 20 hours in, you're probably not going to change your mind about how you felt 2 hours in. So it's a short punchy video, keep it around 10 minutes, broad strokes info, and then you can make up your mind on your own. Okay, so this is a bit of an onion. There's a few layers here. I have some thoughts, and a lot of them are actually beyond this game itself and more how these open world racing games are these days, and how this is kind of a throwback. It's old school, whether it means to be or not. And personally, I'm actually really enjoying what I've played of it, which kind of shocked me a little bit because I'm not blind. This thing's being slammed in the reviews, and I've been sitting on this key for a week, and I've struggled to log in the few times that I've tried. Server issues have been out of control. So if you're not across it, we'll just front load with that. You can buy advanced access or whatever it is they call these days, you know, a few days early for a premium price. However, the servers are absolutely shitting themselves. This game's having a very, very hard time dealing with that. Now, at this time of recording, I didn't actually have any server issues at all. So soft, sort of, they're resolved. But yeah, that's sort of the lead in why it's really getting smashed. And I suppose if you want to go and spin that into, let's just front load with some of the negatives, the technical state of this game, it very much doesn't look fantastic, at least for what it's asking of your system. Outrageous VRAM requirements, and I'm on a 40 series as well. It pretty much doesn't want to run in 4K, and that's fine, not everyone does that, so I put it back to 1440, and I had to really mess with some of the upscalers to get it even close to 60 frames, and it would tank sometimes, and just generally speaking, it's probably not a very well optimized game under the hood because, yeah, like I said, it's very demanding of your system for what it's giving you. So I had to kind of wrestle with it to get it playable, and there are some cases where like the frame dips were out of control. But yeah, look, in the end, I've got a beast rig at 1440 on high with upscalers going, so that might give you an idea of where that's at. However, all of that out of the way, I really like this game. And I've enjoyed it, and I've had a grin on my face, and I've been warming up more and more as I play more and more, as I sort of have nostalgia to Test Drive Unlimited 1 from bloody back in 2006. So this is going to be a quick little history lesson. We're going to talk around the game. Actually, before I do, I might as well cover off on the core. It is very much Test Drive Unlimited, but 10 years later. Open world racing space. This time around it's Hong Kong. It's realized 1-to-1. Very cool. I haven't been to Hong Kong in years, but it definitely feels like it. But as far as like the racing model and the layout and the core gameplay loop, it's all really fun. It's great. It's an arcade racer, the likes which I haven't really seen in a while, where you can kind of drive like a pissed off angry teenager and dodgem car your way through the pack. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the very early Forza type games. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Forza Horizon, and we will compare these because they have to be. But even in that, you know, they've got a whole point score system around no contact and clean driving and all that. And this game doesn't seem to give a crap about it. So that might turn some people off, but then there might be others that are like, well, I kind of miss the old days, to be honest. So yeah, this is very arcadey. But yeah, just as a sort of quick history lesson, Test Drive Unlimited was kind of the progenitor of all of this stuff. It came out first. The idea that you live this luxurious fantasy lifestyle on this island, buying up cars, buying properties. I think you could buy like clubs and stuff like that, but I remember you could buy luxury penthouses and that, and it was something you'd never really seen before. And yet now, the idea of an arcade racer is kind of considered to be following the Forza blueprint. And the reason why I actually really like this and why I might keep playing it is because there is a certain, it's not wholesome. Earnest is a word that I use a lot when this comes up. But this game takes itself very seriously. It plays it straight, which is something that's become more and more rare in all entertainment everywhere. Video games, movies, every awkward silence or serious moment has to be capped with a joke. You know, this Whedon-esque Avengers model. People are starting to wake up to it nowadays, but I've hated it forever since Serenity. And it is this sort of too cool for school, and Forza Horizon has it on a certain meta layer upon layer. You deal with all these dude bro festival people and poppy, chicks yelling and screaming on the radio station, voiceovers and all that, but they're not actually an earnest attempt at like an actual character out of American Pie or something like that from a noughties movie. Like, they might be like, yo, dude bro, surfer dudes or whatever, but they were always played straight. And I suppose you as an audience could have a giggle at that, but the design of so much of Forza, for example, of all their characters are designed as a caricature of that character type. And it's all very wink at the camera. We're not laughing because we're into it and immersed and the game's taking itself serious. We're into it and laughing because the game's taking the piss out of what sort of game it could be. I hope this makes sense. Anyway, so then you sort of superimpose that against this Solar Crown, and what this is going for is something that is a bit of a lost form and is from that 2006 era. Think early Fast and the Furious. Before Fast and the Furious how would you describe it? Go back and watch them. The early Fast and the Furious movies were unapologetically taking themselves very seriously. Right? And there was something kind of cool about that. Yeah, it's camp and it's kind of schlocky and it's very dude bro hammed up. But then to come full circle and tie a knot on this, that's where the earnestness comes from it. It's sort of like the later Fast and the Furious movies, just to finish my thought, became kind of a lampooning of the earlier movies. You don't have to like the early ones, but I appreciate that they played it very straight and leant very hard into the luxury car, masculine fantasy. And this game does that. Same as what Test Drive Unlimited did before it. So you're part of this carified, exclusive world behind worlds thing. I think of things like John Wick, or even, your spy thrillers like your Jason Bournes, this power fantasy of a hidden world right in front of everyone's eyes. So in this, it's luxury racing, and that makes a lot of sense why it's in Hong Kong. You're invited into a sort of exclusive rich person's club, and all of it is just about relishing and rolling around in the luxurious lifestyle of this kind of setting. So you go into all these cool dealerships, and they're all very beautiful. And then you've got the main sort of hostess chick walking you through it, and you've even got like a little interface with your onboard GPS thing. You put like an eye lens in and an earpiece, so you've almost got James Bond gadgetry. And the thing is, it never cracks a joke. Right? It never tries to break the awkward silence, because there is no awkward silence. It just takes itself seriously. And you can join these club clans, and it's all about reputation. There's VIP areas that you're not allowed into because you're not cool enough. Cars aren't just fed to you non-stop. That's something that really actually turned me off with Forza Horizon. They just give me a million cars for bloody, not picking your nose for 2 minutes. Oh, here you go, have a bloody Lamborghini. In this, I've been pretty much stuck in my Mustang, and I've just managed to buy a Citroen and put $100,000 into it to make it less terrible. But it seems more that there's a bit more of an earnest grind, and it's less about sort of kind of lampooning the genre. It's taking itself very straight serious. Again, like I said, this luxury power fantasy, which I feel is something that's kind of frowned upon by a lot of people these days, letting maybe a lot of modern issues in. But yeah, I did warn you that I would be talking more about the state of over the top of the game, because at the core, you could almost call it a remake, remaster in a way of Test Drive Unlimited 1, right? It's not really bringing anything super original to the table. It has the world's most unreadable UI. It's infuriating. But you have to drive to all these places. You can't just fast travel everywhere. You have to unlock things before you can fast travel. But if you want to go to that dealership, you have to go in there and you have to walk in there on foot and walk around and have a look at all the cars. It has some very older, dare I say, not dopamine-fueled, low attention span type mechanics in there, and I just couldn't help but think that it feels like the way that the genre could have gone if it turned left at the crossroads, where instead it turned right and it went down the Forza Horizon hyper dopamine fueled, sardonic, winking at the camera, never taking itself too seriously kind of path. But yeah, this is fun. You're just driving around doing races, in a well-realized city that's a little bit empty, but that's the thing. Once you sort of engage with it on its terms, that does melt away. And I'm not trying to carry water for it because I don't really have a vested interest and I'm not really a driving guy, but I'm just some normie. And this hopefully can find its audience in what I would assume are just sort of boring normie old dads that don't take themselves seriously and don't have a $10,000 car set up in their basement. They just want to play a racing arcade game that takes them seriously. And so yeah, it's fine. The driving model's good. The music's actually really cool. It's got poppy radio stations and retro stuff, all sorts of things. And I just all in all, it's a good package from a time left behind. And time will tell, actually. And we will see if this ever does find its audience or if maybe that something's been left behind and people just don't have the attention span for this sort of way of doing it anymore. So yeah, look, again, interesting thoughts around the game. I suppose I apologize, but that's what's going on here. Main takeaway is perfectly good open world driving sim where you celebrate the luxury power trip role play, very straight face without flinching, and that's it. And that's all it wants to be, and hopefully that's all people need it to be for it to find its audience. Anyway, team, might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.